¿Vive usted con un ser querido mayor de 16 años que es elegible para Mass Health? El programa de Adult Family Care de Vitra Health le da un pago y apoyo clínico para que usted cuide de su ser querido en la comodidad de su hogar. Para calificar, la persona que necesita el cuidado tiene que estar bajo el seguro médico de Mass Health, tiene que necesitar asistencia en el hogar y vivir en la misma casa con su familiar. El familiar que cuida recibe un estipendio por su dedicación y visitas mensuales de una enfermera registrada y un trabajador social que proveen apoyo clínico, entrenamiento y conexión a recursos comunitarios. Por favor, llame al 617-691-7831 con cualquier pregunta y con mucho gusto le atenderemos. Vitra Health trabaja para la salud y el bienestar de usted y su familia. Hola, ¿qué tal? Bienvenidos a una edición nueva de Salud y Más con Romina Wilmot. Es un gusto para mí estar enfrente de ustedes dándoles información sobre recursos de salud y recursos comunitarios que pueden ser muy beneficiosos para usted y su familia. En el programa de hoy estaremos hablando con Marta Muñiz. Ella es Project Manager de los hospitales de MGH, Mass General, y el Brigham and Women's de Boston. Ella nos estará hablando sobre un estudio gratis para los hispanos para entender la memoria y los cambios en el cerebro. Este es un estudio totalmente gratis, también se le da pago a los participantes, se le da compensación y es un estudio totalmente ético, profesional, que lo está haciendo también en colaboración con la Universidad de Harvard. Así que espero que presten atención y sigan con nuestra entrevista durante la siguiente media hora. Bueno, Marta, hola.
Hola.
Gracias por estar acá.
Gracias a ti por tenerme.
Claro. Cuéntame entonces, háblanos un poco sobre ti y sobre el propósito de este hermoso proyecto en el cual tú eres parte.
Claro. Bueno, me llamo Marta Muñiz. Soy gerente de proyectos, en general Project Manager, para el Hospital General de Massachusetts y para el Brigham Women's Hospital aquí en Boston. Yo originalmente soy de México. Me fui a los Estados Unidos a los 16 con mi familia. Mis abuelitos vivían allá en San Diego, entonces me fui para allá. Y ya después de la carrera empecé a trabajar en un estudio también de la enfermedad del Alzheimer. Es un centro de investigación. Y ahí estuve como 4 años, pero cuando vi la oportunidad de trabajar en este centro en el que estoy actualmente, se me hizo una buenísima oportunidad porque los recursos son enormes. Es un centro en donde todos los doctores son increíblemente inteligentes y realmente les importa el propósito de lo que estamos haciendo, lo que es entender la enfermedad de la demencia a causa del Alzheimer.
Sí. Entonces decidiste quedarte en el frío.
Sí,
de Boston.
Así es,
no,
así
y
es.
Una gran oportunidad trabajar para dos world class, o sea,
sí.
reconocidas organizaciones reconocidas mundialmente, como las que mencionaste, esos dos hospitales que tenemos mucha suerte.
Sí, la verdad,
de vivir acá muy cerca de ellos. Entonces, vamos entonces a hablar un poco también sobre, para recordarle a los televidentes sobre el Alzheimer y cuán importante es para los hispanos saber más sobre el Alzheimer.
Claro. Bueno, yo lo viví con mi familia. Mi abuelita tiene la demencia. Hasta la fecha no hay un diagnóstico que se le haya hecho porque en la comunidad, por lo menos mexicana o de donde yo vengo, la verdad es que es como... se le refiere como parte del proceso de envejecimiento, ¿no? Que a alguien se le olvida y dicen, ay, es que ya está viejito, ay, es que es normal, ya está grande. Pero creo que es un punto donde mucha gente no tiene el conocimiento que eso no es parte normal del envejecimiento. Entonces, la demencia a causa de la enfermedad del Alzheimer es una enfermedad neurodegenerativa progresiva, en donde el cerebro se va atrofiando y no se sigue comunicando como debe de comunicarse y entonces se van perdiendo funciones cognitivas, no solamente la función de memoria, sino funciones del habla, funciones de cómo razonar, de cómo planificar cosas, etcétera.
Sí, y lamentablemente está creciendo aún más
Así es.
en todo el país y también con la comunidad hispana. Y lo interesante es que eres parte de un proyecto que está tratando de ver en realidad qué es lo que está causando todo esto y cómo prevenirlo.
Así es.
Y muchos de nuestros televidentes van a tener la oportunidad de participar en estos proyectos.
Así es.
Para ser parte de esta gran iniciativa que va a hacer una diferencia en su comunidad y nacionalmente.
Sí, claro.
Así que entonces háblanos sobre ese proyecto que eres parte.
Bueno, perfecto. Yo soy parte de un programa, o más bien colaboro con un programa que se llama el Programa Multicultural de la Prevención del Alzheimer. Entonces colaboro con ellos. Ese laboratorio en general lo que hace es investigar la enfermedad y las causas de la enfermedad en la población latina. Ese programa tiene varios estudios, los estudios son en español, entonces quiere decir que los neurólogos, los neuropsicólogos, la gente que los atiende, todos hablan español y en realidad a todos les importa muchísimo esta causa. El estudio en el que trabajo se llama Harvard Aging Brain Study y este estudio es un estudio que ya se ha hecho o se ha realizado por 10 años. Entonces, el propósito de ese estudio es entender cómo el envejecimiento es un proceso, ¿cierto? Entonces, es el proceso del envejecimiento y cómo va cambiando nuestro cerebro a través de los años y qué funciones se van perdiendo o van aumentando, etcétera. Entonces, justo el año pasado nos dieron la oportunidad y los fondos para traducir todos los exámenes en español y entonces así poder también incluir a la población y latina para entender de qué manera nos afecta a nosotros, en específico los latinos, la enfermedad del Alzheimer y el proceso del envejecimiento.
Qué bien. Qué bueno. ¿Y por qué es tan importante participar? ¿Qué le puedes decir a los televidentes que podían beneficiarse de este estudio o que conocen de alguien, de un familiar que podría ser parte de este estudio? ¿Por qué es tan importante que la comunidad latina se involucre en esto?
Bueno, lo voy a contestar como dos preguntas, porque creo que una de las preguntas más importantes es ¿por qué necesitamos los latinos participar en la investigación? Punto. A mí se me hace algo que es un tema muy importante porque en realidad muchas de las investigaciones que se hacen en la medicina o en el campo de la medicina se hacen en personas anglosajonas. Entonces, esas personas tienen una dieta completamente diferente a la de nosotros, tienen otras cosas que son muy distintas a los latinos. Entonces, cuando se empiezan a crear tratamientos, medicamentos, etcétera, solamente se prueban en esa población. Entonces, ¿cómo sabemos que a nosotros también nos van a servir o van a ser tan eficientes como con la otra población? Entonces, para mí, ese es un punto muy importante que nosotros tenemos, si queremos que las cosas nos funcionen para nosotros también, nosotros tenemos que hacer el esfuerzo de que también nos tomen a nosotros en cuenta. Y bueno, pues parte de eso es participar en estudios de investigación. Sí. Y entonces, la otra pregunta del por qué un ser querido o un familiar puede participar en este estudio de la memoria. El programa multicultural tiene 2 estudios, uno que es solamente para evaluar la memoria una vez y el otro, como el que se ha conducido por 10 años ya, el Harvard Aging Brain Study, ese seguimos a personas que todavía no tienen ningún problema de memoria, pero lo seguimos a través del tiempo, lo seguimos por 5 años. Entonces, a mí se me hace algo que, por ejemplo, si yo sé que mi abuelita tiene demencia, a lo mejor yo le podría decir a mi mamá, oye, me gustaría que tú también te metas a este programa de investigación porque quisiera ver que te sigan y de esa manera te dan evaluaciones de memoria todos los años y si hay algún problema te lo van a decir y si no hay ningún problema, pues bueno, qué tranquilidad, ¿no?
Ajá, sí. Qué bien, entonces tienen 2 estudios para personas que ya tienen la enfermedad y para otras que todavía no la tienen.
Correcto.
Entonces están estudiando y están siguiendo a esa persona por un periodo de 5 años. Entonces
Así
hablemos sobre los detalles de estos estudios, cuáles son las cualificaciones. Tengo entendido que uno hasta se le da pago a las personas que puedan participar.
Bueno, sí, es una compensación porque en realidad sabemos que para empezar, mucha gente sigue trabajando, estamos pidiendo gente de 65 para arriba, lo cual significa, como te digo, que mucha gente sigue trabajando y entendemos eso. Entonces la compensación es tal como se dice, es para compensar el hecho de que a lo mejor no van a trabajar un día. Las visitas duran aproximadamente 4 horas. Entonces, pues bueno, sí es bastante tiempo, pero bueno, para responder tu pregunta, de los requisitos que se necesitan es tener 65 años a más o menos 90 años, hablar español. Para uno de los estudios es no tener ningún síntoma o ninguna pérdida de memoria, y para el otro estudio no importa si tienes ya algún tipo de preocupación o problema de memoria. Entonces realmente depende de qué estudio estén interesados, pero nuestro teléfono, que ahorita se lo van a mostrar en un ratito, ahí pueden llamar y pueden ver para cuál estudio pueden participar y para cuál califican.
Okay. Qué bien. Entonces también reciben, veo acá, asistencia con el transporte, que es un gran problema para mucha gente
claro,
que no
sí.
puede ir principalmente a los hospitales de la ciudad de Boston.
Correcto.
Entonces dan esa asistencia y el pago está muy bien, la compensación que se le da por participar y darte su tiempo. ¿Qué incluye el estudio?
Claro, el estudio son aproximadamente en el transcurso de 5 años para el Harvard Aging Brain Study. Son 17 visitas más o menos en el transcurso de 5 años. El primer año es un poquito más involucrado simplemente porque es cuando tomamos toda los datos iniciales con los que vamos a comparar cada año su memoria, su habilidad de funcionamiento del día al día. Entonces, en general incluye exámenes de memoria, evaluar la cognición de una persona, exámenes de imágenes como MRI. ¿Sabes qué es un MRI?
Sí, pero
a lo mejor bueno, un MRI es una resonancia magnética y lo que viene siendo es como si le tomaran un rayo X, pero es del puro cerebro, y entonces lo que les pedimos que hagan es que se acuesten en una camita y los van a meter en un tubito que es un magneto. Ese magneto funciona como una cámara y toma las imágenes del cerebro en general, ver cómo está la estructura, ver si el cerebro ya se encogió un poquito o cosas así. Entonces es eso. Y luego la otra parte es los PET scans, que vienen siendo imágenes en donde nosotros podemos evaluar cierto tipo de proteína que hay en el cerebro. Una de las preguntas que mucha gente me hace es como, la proteína como el pollo o la proteína como el salmón. No es ese tipo de proteína. Es la proteína que nosotros estamos tratando de evaluar son amiloide y tau. Esas 2 proteínas están ligadas con la enfermedad del Alzheimer, como causa del Alzheimer. Entonces, lo que hacemos es que todos tenemos esta proteína. Tú la tienes, yo la tengo. Pero hay ciertos niveles en donde ya no son normales. Entonces nosotros lo que queremos es evaluar qué es normal, qué no es normal, y seguir como evaluando si va aumentando o si va disminuyendo y cómo afecta esa proteína a la cognición.
Ay, no, mira, qué interesante. Gracias por educarnos sobre todo
claro.
esto. Entonces, el estudio incluye como cuántas visitas al año.
Claro.
¿Y cuánto dura cada visita?
Entonces, como te dije, el primer año es mucho más involucrado. Se pueden hacer las visitas en el transcurso de 6 meses. El primer año son aproximadamente 4 visitas a nuestro centro. Nosotros estamos ubicados en Charlestown, pero como dijiste, nosotros pagamos el transporte y no hay ningún problema. Entonces, como te digo, cada visita dura aproximadamente 4 horas. Aparte del transporte, nosotros también damos de comer, porque pues sabemos que 4 horas es como muchísimo sin comer. Entonces...
Ah, qué bien. Entonces un buen incentivo también,
sí, claro.
la compensación
Sí.
de hasta 1.700 por el estudio. Que claro que se paga por todo lo que es la duración del
correcto, por los 5 años.
Y la transportación y la comida. Así que en realidad no hay excusas y la oportunidad de poder ayudar a su comunidad y a su familia,
claro.
y poder evitar esta gran enfermedad. Excelente. Y también sabemos que hace también discursos y seminarios en la comunidad para educar a las personas sobre Alzheimer's. Así que si las personas se quieren enterar de futuros eventos, de donde vas a estar, pueden ir a tu website.
Sí, seguro. Más bien que nos llamen para ver si tenemos algún evento en la comunidad.
Claro, y tiene su página de Facebook, y ahí lo van a poner también. Una última pregunta, Marta.
Sí, claro.
¿Qué personas no podrían participar en el estudio?
Dependiendo del estudio, porque como te digo, uno de los estudios es solamente para valorar la memoria una vez solamente. Ese estudio se llama Boston Latino Aging Study, y para ese estudio es como si fuera un registro de la comunidad en general latina aquí en Boston. Entonces, si ya tienes problemas de memoria, no hay problema. Si tienes algún problema físico, mental o lo que sea, también puedes participar. Es solamente un registro para ver cómo está la comunidad. Para el otro estudio en el que se le va siguiendo a las personas, ese sí es un poquito más particular, porque estamos buscando a personas que sean saludables. Eso significa que, no sé, que si tienen el colesterol alto, que le estén tratando. Si tienen diabetes, que la esté tratada, porque no queremos que ese tipo de variables confundan la información que nosotros estamos tratando de entender. Los latinos tenemos casi el doble del riesgo para tener la enfermedad, y esto yo creo que es por cosas tales como nuestro estilo de vida o la dieta o otras enfermedades que a otras comunidades no les dan. Entonces, para ese estudio sí estamos buscando a gente que sea saludable, que no tengan problemas de memoria y que estén dispuestos a dar un poquito de su tiempo.
Qué bien. Bueno, y...
Solamente quería agregar algo, si puedo. Hace ratito dijiste que es una oportunidad única que tienen los latinos para participar en estudios de investigación, y como te digo, yo trabajé en UCSD, en el Centro de la Investigación del Alzheimer, y bueno, ahí también en realidad se hacían muy pocas evaluaciones a los participantes latinos. Entonces, recursos como los que tenemos en este centro, las capacidades de métodos de investigación que tenemos en esta ciudad son incomparables, y realmente si uno habla al centro de San Diego para decir, oye, tu investigación tiene PET, a lo mejor no lo van a tener. Entonces son oportunidades únicas que tanto el neurólogo como el neuropsicólogo como la persona que lo atiende, que todos hablan español, es bastante único.
Es cierto, en realidad tenemos mucha suerte de vivir acá en esta ciudad donde hay tanta innovación, tanto en salud, medicina y educación. Bueno, entonces, si no tienes algún otro mensaje que quieras compartir con la comunidad, Marta, vamos a dejar la información, el número de contacto, la website para los televidentes que puedan ir y puedan participar de este estudio y tomen ventaja.
Perfecto, muchísimas gracias.
Gracias a ti, Marta. Okay. ¿Vive usted con un ser querido mayor de 16 años que es elegible para Mass Health? El programa de Adult Family Care de Vitra Health le da un pago y apoyo clínico para que usted cuide de su ser querido en la comodidad de su hogar. Para calificar, la persona que necesita el cuidado tiene que estar bajo el seguro médico de Mass Health, tiene que necesitar asistencia en el hogar y vivir en la misma casa con su familiar. El familiar que cuida recibe un estipendio por su dedicación y visitas mensuales de una enfermera registrada y un trabajador social que proveen apoyo clínico, entrenamiento y conexión a recursos comunitarios. Por favor, llame al 617-691-7831 con cualquier pregunta y con mucho gusto le atenderemos. Vitra Health trabaja para la salud y el bienestar de usted y su familia.
¿Qué es la enfermedad de Alzheimer? El Alzheimer es una enfermedad del cerebro lenta y mortal que afecta a 1 de cada 10 personas mayores de 65 años. Nadie es inmune. La enfermedad es progresiva a medida que 2 fragmentos anormales de proteínas llamados placas y ovillos se acumulan en el cerebro y matan a sus células. Comienzan a acumularse aquí, cerca del hipocampo, la parte del cerebro donde inicialmente se forman los recuerdos. Con el paso de los años, las placas y ovillos destruyen lentamente el hipocampo, haciendo más difícil crear nuevos recuerdos. Los afectados no pueden acordarse de situaciones sencillas ocurridas hace escasas horas o días. Posteriormente, las placas y ovillos se expanden a otras regiones del cerebro, matando células y afectando a otras funciones. Esta expansión causa las diferentes etapas de Alzheimer. Desde el hipocampo, la enfermedad se expande aquí, la región del cerebro donde se procesa el lenguaje. Cada vez es más difícil encontrar la palabra correcta. Después, la enfermedad llega a la parte frontal del cerebro donde se produce el pensamiento lógico. Gradualmente, la persona comienza a perder la capacidad de resolver problemas, entender conceptos y hacer planes. Posteriormente, las placas y ovillos invaden la zona donde se regulan las emociones. El paciente pierde gradualmente el control de su estado emocional y de sus sentimientos. A continuación, la enfermedad se mueve donde el cerebro da sentido a las cosas que ve, oye y huele. En esta etapa, el Alzheimer altera considerablemente los sentidos de la persona y puede provocar alucinaciones. A la larga, las placas y ovillos borran los recuerdos más antiguos y queridos de la persona que se almacenan aquí, en la parte posterior del cerebro. Casi al final, la enfermedad altera el equilibrio y coordinación del enfermo, y en la última etapa, destruye la parte del cerebro que regula la respiración y el corazón. La progresión desde la fase inicial hasta el fallecimiento es lenta y gradual, y en promedio dura de 8 a 10 años. Es implacable y hasta ahora incurable. Ayudar a tu familia, amigos y vecinos a entender mejor el Alzheimer reducirá el estigma, mejorará los cuidados y ayudará a luchar para encontrar una cura. Gracias por su contribución. Para aprender más sobre el Alzheimer, visite la página web www.aboutalz.org.
I'm welcoming viewers in Massachusetts, viewers around the world, viewers all over the social media. My name is Ronald Bernard, and I'm the host for the show called Integration. Integration is a show that has been bringing to you by the partnership between Immigrants Development Alternatives, IDA, which is a nonprofit organization, and MCTV, which is Multicultural Television Network. This program is creating to provide information, useful information that people need, especially immigrants who are resettling in the U.S., in order to make informed decisions, in order to build their lives while they live in the U.S. So this evening, I am very glad, very honored to have with us Mr. Rodney Auger, who is an attorney in Massachusetts.
Thank you, Ronald. It is a pleasure to be here with you today. Once again, my name is Rodney Auger. I am an attorney in Massachusetts, so I have been practicing law with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts for about 12 years, and I'm glad to be with you today, Ronald, to discuss a very important topic today. It's about credit.
Yeah. Thank you, partner, because it's very, critical, specifically for people who are settling in the U.S. Because, for instance, me coming from Haiti, and it's not everybody like they are used to like using the either credit system in their home countries. So, if, for instance, someone in the U.S. and they're trying to talk about credit card or apply for a credit card, so what is the simplest definition you can tell people? What is a credit card?
The credit card is just a little plastic card. It has a little chip inside of it. Basically, it's either issued by a bank or any financial institution. It's allowed you to use when you go purchase any type of goods or services, you can actually use it as credit instead of using cash. It is a very important, although it is a small plastic, but it is something very important, especially living in this country. It's very important. So there are many ways for an individual to get a credit card, and that's something we're going to cover throughout this program.
Okay, so before we're talking about many ways people can, get a credit card. So I like the fact you mentioned, you mentioned the word cash. So when someone has this plastic with the chip we call credit card, it has like money value, right?
Yes. Basically, the way it's the financial system, that's the way the financial system in the United States is built on credit. Basically, before you can actually get a credit card, you have to establish some kind of a credit. So it's just like we have a total of 3 credit bureaus in the U.S. We have the Experience, TransUnion, or Equifax. Pretty much, they are non-profit. They're not governmental agencies. Basically, they maintain all the credit that exists in a report. So in everything that you have a report. So they maintain the credit report, and then also if someone here in the U.S. you get in trouble criminally with the law, you will have a criminal record. But the three bureaus, those 3 bureaus, they maintain your credit, everyone credit in the U.S.
Okay. And as you said, they maintain everyone credit in the U.S. So some people, for instance, in my job, I can say, because I work directly with people, and sometimes they want to purchase something, and they said, "Oh, I don't know. The bank said I don't have any credit." So let's say the financial institution or the banking institution means that by someone doesn't have a credit?
Basically, what they mean is that it's basically you don't have a history with one of those credit bureau I mentioned, either Equifax, TransUnion, or Experience. So not having a credit doesn't mean that you have a bad credit. It's just like you don't have a transaction. That's when you don't have a credit card, or you don't have a student loan, or you don't have a mortgage. That's mean you don't have credit. But credit card is very important. In order for you to get to different step level of borrowing money from a financial institution, you have to at least start somewhere. But starting somewhere is using that little plastic card to start building a credit history in order to get to the level you will be able to go somewhere and then say, I want to borrow like $5,000 or I want to borrow $50,000. So it's just because when the financial institution, once you establish your credit, they're going to look at it and then they're going to say you are someone valuable. And then I don't want to get ahead. I know you have a serious question. I want the audience that's listening tonight, it's very important because everything that you're doing towards your life, they have to run your credit. You trying to get an apartment, they're going to run your credit. Your car insurance, your credit is going to determine whether you pay a high premium or a lower premium. So it is very important. Even your employer, certain employers, when you're looking for a job, before they'll hire you, they're going to run a soft credit on you to determine whether you are reliable. Because if you have a credit card, you paid on time, you have a history, you built a history, they're going to think that you're a reliable person, we can actually hire you. So the credit is very important.
So it's like you mentioned, based on the explanation, it's like they're trying to understand if you are a responsible person.
Yes. So
in terms of managing your finance.
Yes, and the credit, like for example, if you don't have a credit, that's mean either you have a bad credit, that your credit has been destroyed, or you can be a reasonable person. You just use cash. Okay. You use cash only, but using cash is not good because even though you have a cash, you can actually get a credit card and then use the credit card, then pay so that you build your credit if you don't have any credit.
Okay. So imagine, let's say I don't have any credit, and if I go to a financial institution and they propose me what they call a secured credit card.
Okay.
Is it a good option that I can build my credit with?
It is a good option. Well, no, the secure credit card, what it is, it's like the institution, the bank or any financial institution, they're just going to ask you to put a deposit. That's what secure means. So in case, because they look at you, they run a credit report on you to Equifax, TransUnion, or Experience, they see there's nothing come up. That doesn't mean you're a bad person, but it's just you don't have any line of credit open. So what they're going to tell you, they're going to say, well, in order for you to give you a credit card, you're going to have to deposit $500 or $1,000. This is what you call secure credit card. It is a good way to build your credit. If you have cash, you're using cash all the time, it's not building your credit. So if you do, okay, I'm going to get a secure credit card. Yes, it's a way to build your credit. It is a good option.
So all the viewers, you are listening to Integration, and we are with attorney Wagner Auger, who is talking about, a very important information regarding credit card, regarding, some basic financial things people should understand while they live in the U.S. and things they need in order not to put in jeopardy their life in the U.S. financially, especially if you want in the future buying a car, so you're going to need a credit for it. As you mentioned, you're going to buy a house, you're going to do certain things, even job, you're going to need credit for it. So we're going to continue with Integration and Jose. So now, when you apply for credit card, many people, what they understand is just the money. Like, okay, I apply, I get approved, they approve me for $1,000. And so when they mention about APR, what is that?
The APR is an annual percentage rate. Okay. Basically, there's two types of it. There's one type you can get a lower. If you build your credit, you can have a low APR on your credit card. Basically, if you don't have a good credit, basically there are institutions, they make money out of people who have bad credit. So some people think that if they have bad credit, they may not get a credit card, but there are institutions, they're looking for those individuals because they're going to put the APR very high so that when you purchase something, if you don't pay it right away, and then they put a percentage on it. And then if you, at the end of the year, they require by law to give you a resume how much interest you pay. And then if you look at it, you have a higher APR. It's gonna be, it can be up to like $3,000 or $5,000 in interest. And then now the law required them, they have to tell you how long it's gonna take you to pay, because when you get a credit card, you have a balance on it. There's a minimum payment you have to make. If you're making the minimum payment, it's gonna build your credit. It's gonna build your credit. However, if you have a higher balance on it, it's gonna take forever. So basically, you have to, you have to look at your budget. This is the minimum payment. How much extra I can, put it on it, so that I can, you build in the credit, and as well as you taking advantage of the. It is an opportunity. I can tell you that, right now I have about $20,000 sitting on my credit card. I don't use it, but I know that if I have an emergency, if my car broke down, if I have to fix something, if there's something I have to fix in my house, I know I can use that. But I wouldn't use my credit card. I would just go to the bank trying to get a personal loan. The personal loan, the interest might be a little bit lower than what on the credit card. So it's very important.
Yeah, I like you mentioned about the word emergency. And so how people should think about when they have the credit card, like in terms of the assumption and the philosophy. So should people, I'm talking about, new people or people who are resettling in the U.S., people who are not familiar with what is a credit card, should the assumption or the philosophy is that, listen, it's like a money they borrow me through the credit card? Or should they think that, oh, this is my money?
No, they shouldn't think it is their money. You have to be responsible. If you want to build your credit, you get a credit card, I will encourage you to use it, but whenever you purchase, you pay it. If you have a checking bank account, you have money on it, and then you need to build your credit, you can just purchase and then you pay it. But you cannot use your credit card as a mean for your daily activities, as part of your budget. Some people, they use it. Me, I have my credit card for a bigger expense. If there's an emergency, I know that I don't have to go to somebody say, let me borrow $200. I can just go to the bank and then stitch it. I can withdraw money from my credit card. But the only thing, when you withdraw money on your credit card, the interest rate is a little bit higher. The APR is a little bit higher, but it is there available to you if there's an emergency. So I want to stress that it's very important. You have to be responsible when you use a credit card. If you can't just go in, if you go into a restaurant every weekend, you're just using your credit card. But if you have a plan, I'm going to the restaurant, I'm going to use $50, and then once I get paid, I'm going to pay that $50. That's fine, but you cannot use it as a way, because eventually it's going to mess. When you build your credit, there's what they're going to tell you. If you're 2 months behind, one month behind, and this is where it's tricky. And then I know you get into later on, there's the question of soft inquiry and a hard inquiry, and this is where if you have a credit and then you don't receive a lot of credit offer, that's when there's something wrong with your credit. Because once you build your credit, other companies, they want to take advantage of that. They're going to keep sending you in the mail different offers. For example, every month I get an offer, and I say, if you use your credit card today, you have like the 9 months, no interest. Okay. So sometimes I take advantage of it, because I know the balance, I can just pay the balance for 9 months. I don't have to pay any interest on it. At the same time, if you have an interest, you purchase something for a higher value, and then you're gonna give minimum pay. By the time it's gonna double the amount. You're gonna say, wow, it's taking me forever to pay it. And then now they require by law, if you look at your credit card statement, it will tell you how long, if you're making minimum payment, how long it's gonna take you to pay the balance, or if you're making this amount, how long it's gonna take it.
I think on the how people track it. So I receive some people ask me questions. So I have a credit card. I spend, let's say, $100. When should I put it back?
Well, it's if you build in your credit, you just pay it like $25 for each cycle. But if you already have a credit, you have the money, you should just pay the $100.
Okay. Should someone pay it like within 30 days, within 25 days?
Well,
So
normally the cycle is 30 days. If you don't pay in the 30 days, you're gonna be late. There's a late fee. The late fee now, it's used to be $25, and then now it's 35. I think there are some institution, it's $37 for late. So basically you have, and then you get charged $37 for late fee, and then on the top of that, it goes to the credit bureau and then reporting that. And then this is where if you are in need for a loan, a mortgage, or auto loan, this is where they're gonna look at your credit. You might get a loan, but they're gonna charge you a higher interest rate because you're a risky borrower. Okay. So this is where it's a little bit tricky. It's not in your advantage not to be responsible to pay on time.
Okay. And as you mentioned a while ago about the soft and the hard increase, so I have people, they go to stores and stores offer them credit card, or they go to apply through a bank. So how people should understand when it's a hard inquiry or a soft inquiry?
It's depend. Basically, the soft inquiry, my understanding is it usually coming from if you just stay in your mail, you get you get something. But it seems like every time you make a point to fill out a credit card, they offer you fill out, it will be some kind of a hard inquiry, or if you go get a loan, a car loan, it's gonna be a hard inquiry on your credit card. So you have to be careful you don't do it too often, because it's gonna drop your credit score. It can affect your credit score, but the soft inquiry doesn't affect your credit score. The soft inquiry it's when you you open your mail, you get like 2 credit card offer, tell you qualify for, yeah. Those are the soft inquiry. But whenever you go to a point, they offer you at the one of those stores, it's gonna hit, if you do it too many times, it's gonna affect your credit score.
So a bad inquiry, which like in terms of points, so do they say like how many points?
It's based on the research. I went to the Experience website and other institution website. It says that you will lose about, your score will go down about 5 points. 5 points.
Okay. And so now, I don't know if I have credit, but I would like to have credit. So how could I understand when the credit is bad and when the credit is good in terms of what is the score range?
Well, in Massachusetts, they have what they call a free annual free credit report, which I will encourage anyone to do because I do it every year. So basically, there's like you pull a credit report from each bureau, TransUnion, Equifax, and Experience. So each one of them, they reported different information. Some of them you might, if you have another thing, utilities bill. Some people, if you have your utility bill, like a gas, electric, or you don't pay it, they can report it to the institution. If they send your name to collection, then the collection send it to the credit bureau, and then that can affect your credit. So basically, in Massachusetts, you can pull I encourage everyone, if you just go to a free credit report, free annual credit report, you can pull one of them. So the only caution is make sure you know yourself, because they're going to ask you a set of questions. If you don't answer it correctly, you end up, they will tell you send in your inquiry in writing. So I do it every year, pull a credit report. I make sure if something doesn't look good in my credit report, and then I will call the one of the bureau and say that this is not, and then there's a way you can actually hit a button to dispute it if something doesn't look good. So it's very important you do that, because at this age, there are a lot of identity theft. People stealing information, so you make sure that you check your credit report. Sometimes if you don't have a credit, History, nothing's gonna be in there.
Yeah.
But if you have a credit history, one way to start a credit too, if one of those department store, you know, they want to offer you you know, a card. Usually store card. Usually the interest rate is a little high. I have a department store card, so I usually, if I don't have the money, I don't use it. But if I have the money, I just use it, and then when I get the bill, I just pay the whole amount. But it is one way to actually build your credit. So.
Okay. Well, that's pretty smart way to do it. So, if my credit score, for instance, is, let's say, 350 or 450 or 550 or let's say 500 or up to 550,
Yeah.
can I consider is it good or bad?
It's not good. Based on it's a good credit report. It's between like 680 and 700. The score. The excellent to get, it's 850. But you want to be between 650 and 720. If you're in that category, it's and another thing that affect people's score. There's what they call debt load, the amount the debt you have. So you may have you know, excellent credit, but if you have a lot of debt load, a lot of debt, it can affect your credit too as well, because they will look at your ability to pay. That can affect you will still be able to borrow, because they will look at history that you've been paying on time and everything. But when they look at your total amount of money you owe, and then they look at your income, and then that somehow has a little impacted your score. Instead of having on the 800 score, you might be end up in the 750 or something like that. So, but if you know, if you pay on time, you know, it's good. It's good to have credit. So,
all the viewers, this is Integration, and we continue having the dialogue with attorney Wadner Oje, who is willing to come to our platform and talk to us about credit, things people needs to know. And I believe he has been sharing very useful information, things to know about credit. Report, like you can get an annual report, and you make sure that you have all your information in order to get that report online. Otherwise, they're gonna require you to fill out paper to send it by mail. So, Wadner, I see like some situation people, you know, they have a lot of debts and stuff like that, and they oblige to, let's say, declare something called bankruptcy. What is a bankruptcy?
Bankruptcy, it's an option that it's a right, a legal avenue that exists through the statute enacted by Congress. They have the bankruptcy statute, different type of bankruptcies. Basically, it's allowed somebody to have a fresh start. If someone has too many debts, and either they lost their job or their income cannot sustain the debt, so it provides an avenue they can get a fresh start. But it's depending on the individual. There are different type of bankruptcies.
Okay, when you say there is different types, so would you mind to talk a little bit about the types and how might that related in terms of affecting credit?
Okay. Well, in terms of some people, there's that perceptions file for bankruptcy. It's wrong. It's not good. But I just want to clear that the law it exists is there for a purpose. If you're in a situation, this is the only avenue that you have. It's something you don't take very lightly because it can affect your credit. But I will explain to I recently been informed, educated on that to take the misinformation about bankruptcy. But it is something that you're not supposed to take very lightly. But if it is something that's only option to you, of course it is. You should take it. You should consider that. Talk to an attorney. That really good. And then I know there's the Lawyers Project with the Boston Bar Association. They have a very good, they did a training. I participated in that, and then they help individual file for bankruptcy. If anybody interested, please call Ronald, and then I'll get that information to him. It's there basically there are several type of bankruptcy. They have Chapter 7, which is regularly you can file for bankruptcy if you have no asset. You just file it. For example, if you're working, you have your debt is outweighed. You can't live. You can't feed your family. You can't do anything. That's an options available to you. There's sometimes they will look at your asset. It's depend on, there's different, whether bankruptcy with asset or bankruptcy they don't consider an asset. But if you're a homeowner, you can still file for bankruptcy. Basically in Massachusetts, there's what the law protect, there's what they call exempt. Certain asset is exempt from bankruptcy. So if you have a home, your house, it will allow you to stay in the home, and then you get it's usually Chapter 7 will take about 6 months, and then after that you get a clean start. But the negative impact of it, you would have to, before I used to understand that you have to use cash only. But I understand that it mentioned that there are some institutions, they're looking for the bad people. So even though you file for bankruptcy, you can still you get a credit card to start billing, but the interest rate gonna be very high. But you can use that as an option. You are using cash. Use that as an option to build your credit back up. That's one way. There's another type of bankruptcy, Chapter 13. Basically, you will have to work with a trustee. It's all those things taken at the federal level. Bankruptcy, it's federal law. But in terms of asset, they will look back to a state law to see what's exemption. They call it exemption. Certain asset they are exempt from going to. For example, if you're doing chapter 13, you have to spend at least 3 years paying. They will consolidate all the debt, and then you have to pay to the trustee. And then it's very important when you file for bankruptcy, you have to declare all your assets. And then they will make a determination which assets are exempt or which assets are not. And if they discover, sometimes they're going to have to sell it. As this is where you have to be very cautious about it, because you can't just if you have a car, you're planning file from bankruptcy, you change the title to, because there's within the time, I think there's a period, they will look at any transfer that they couldn't consider that as fraud. So you have to be very careful. You just have to put everything on the table. There's a trustee appointed by the bankruptcy court, and then they will look at your asset. And then for Chapter 7, if you're doing with no asset, they will look at your exempt property. Then they will, within 6 or 7 months, you get a clean start. For if you're doing 13 other type of bankruptcy, you're gonna have to make payment to the trustee for at least 3 years, and then after the 3 years, you get a clean start. There's other options that for corporation, but the most common one is Chapter 7 and Chapter 13. There's Chapter 11, there's Chapter 12.
Yep. A lot of
yes.
Okay, so that's why we need an attorney to help us in the process. So the show is to help people who are resettling here, and it's for that reason the name of the show is Integration.
Mm-hmm.
So immigrants and people who are resettling, what would be golden advice for people in terms of either biases toward credit cards?
Yep.
And what is the best way they can protect themselves in terms of, I know you elaborated a little bit on it, but I need advice you can give, especially with people who come here or people who've been here and they might be reluctant. Oh, credit card is not a good option, or I don't know, I heard too many bad things about credit cards. So what your advice to them, number one, and number two, what they should do in order to protect themselves?
Well, basically, a credit card is not a bad thing. It's just you have to use it responsibly. I myself, in my profession, my employment, we look at what we call financial responsibility. So basically, if you have a debt, you have to take care of it, and so that people know that if you have a credit card debt, you have to take care of it. You don't, say, well, they keep calling me, I'm gonna ignore them. That's what they go to the court. They go to the court, and then they get a judgment. Once they get a judgment, you don't pay it, it shows up on your credit. And then after that, they go back to the court, they get a supplemental process. And then this is where they can go ahead, attach if you have a bank account, they can go ahead, based on the supplemental process, they can go attach your bank account, or they can do what they call garnish your wage. It's very important that people, sometimes, you have to understand what you're getting to it. And sometimes people, they get bad advice or just forget about it. You have to take care of it. And I can tell you that in my profession, what I do on a daily basis, I hold people back. I'm not going to say exactly what I do, but I do hold people back for having bad credit, for not being financially responsible. You have to take care of it. In Massachusetts, they have the consumer protection law. It's very good, very thorough. If you have a credit card debt, there's an institution, what they do, they sell. Once they realize that they have a debt, they realize that, well, it's going to take me so long to collect that. They go sell it like 75 cents on a dollar. So if I owe you $500, for example, and you find another company, you say, why they owe me $500? But why don't you give me $150 and then you can try to collect the $500? In Massachusetts law, credit collection in Massachusetts, they have to prove that. So sometimes someone can come in after you for a judgment because you owe a credit card. If you go to the court, shows up in the court, you can win against them. Sometimes people, they just don't show up. And then the credit card company, they have lawyers. They just go, the judge call so-and-so's here, not here, default. And then once they put a default on you, it shows up. If you're going to go try to get housing, it can affect you get housing. And I know people, they cannot get housing, even though the income, they qualify for it, but they cannot get it because they have a bad credit. So it's very important. It's very important. If you get a piece of paper to shows up, please shows up on the court. And you can contact one of the bar association. They have those lawyers for the day. They can assist you if you're a low income individual. It's very important that you shows up or talk to someone. Say, I got this in the mail. Can you help me find someone who can explain that? Don't just ignore it, because they're going to get, if you talk to somebody, they say, well, I filed my tax return. I didn't get it. They take it all. Usually when somebody tell me, I say, there's something you did wrong. Either they send you the mail, they will send civil process, you just ignore it, or you have an address that you never lived there. Because before they get to you, what they call garnish your wages or withhold your tax return refund, it takes a long time because they have to get a judge to order it for them to get access to it. So it's one thing, a lot of newcomers, they made that mistake. So they just come in and ignore. No, it is good. You can get a credit card. Be responsible. Use it. You have it as an emergency. But if you use it, make sure that you pay the minimum, at least pay the minimum payment every month. For me, if I can tell you that if I have a credit card debt of $5,000, I get my tax refund, I will just send that $5,000 back. I don't just see that. I just, I know I use it, I just pay it. But I just want people to know, if you're listening, if you receive one of those, go to the court, because there's great protection, because they have to prove that they own the debt. And then they have to prove that they own it, because someone, as I explained, can sell it and then they can't prove that They actually own it. They send you the first statement. They cannot prove. They don't have those documentation. But debt collection statute in Massachusetts say that you have to do X, Y, and Z before you can actually collect in Massachusetts. So it's very important. I want that message to go across, that people understand that if you get something in the mail regarding to shows up in the court, please shows up. And then when you get there, if you need an attorney, ask the judge that if you can try more time to find somebody to assist you.
And this question I asked, it's like I'm about to finish. Yeah,
yep.
I'm about to finish, but I would like you can give advice on that piece of situation I see. How many credit card you would advise people to have? Because some people, when they see they have good credit, what they started to do, they just, wherever they get credit card, they have several credit cards.
Well, I have at least, I have 3 credit cards. So what I do, let me explain. If you have good credit, every month, if you don't use it, you have the money sitting in the credit card, the balance is 0. They're going to keep sending you those offers. So if I have a credit card, I use it, they give me 9 months. When I mentioned the 9 months, once the 9 months come in, I transfer that balance to another credit card. And then I get another 9 months. So that's where you avoid paying the interest rate on that. But a minimum of 2, it's okay, as long as you can use it responsibly. And then if you have good credit, if you have 2, you can bounce a larger amount of balance from 1 and 2 without paying any interest rate until you take care of it. So that's the advantage. I use it. I do that all the time. Once I use it, when the 9 months is coming, I just bounce it to the other one. When the 9 months is finished on the other, of course there's a transfer fee. I want to be clear. There's a transfer fee, but when you calculate how much the transfer fee is, it's nothing if you were going to pay the interest rate every month. So I do that a lot. So.
Okay. Well, thank you, Attorney Wagner, for taking your time coming to Integration and enlighten all viewers who are listening about being responsible financially, like when they, for instance, having a credit card. So how they should use it, what they should look out for, and things they should do in order to maintain their credit. And you also talk about bankruptcy and what people should understand about bankruptcy. And all the viewers, I want to thank you for taking your time and watching the show today. And thank you, Wagner, for being with us today.
It's a pleasure.
It's a pleasure. Thank you. We really appreciate all the good insights you give to us. And as I usually say, my name is Ronald Bernard, and I'm the host for the show called Integration. I will see you for the next show. Thank you.